Hello everybody, welcome back to Weekly Life Wisdom, and so far I've been your host, Zero Yeti, and can you believe we've been doing this for over a year already? This is officially the 52nd video I've done of these, and though I've taken some breaks in the past, that literally puts us at a year of doing this. So let's go into it by returning to a similar list to the first one we ever did, and starting with the Eastern Quoll, also known as the Eastern Native Cat, is a medium-sized carnivorous diacerid marsupial and one of the 6 extant species of quolls. Formerly found across much of southeastern Australia, the eastern quoll became regionally extinct on the mainland by the 1960s, and today is endemic to the islands of Tasmania and Brunei, with introduced populations occurring in a few national parks throughout Canberra and New South Wales. Here the eastern quolls inhabit rainforests, heathland, alpine regions, scrublands, below 4,900 feet in elevation, displaying a preference to dry grassland and forest mosaics bounded by agricultural land, particularly where pasture grubs are common. In addition to insects, eastern quolls also feed upon small mammals, small reptiles, small birds, carrion fruits and grasses, and are themselves preyed upon by Tasmanian devils and masked owls. Eastern quolls are generally solitary and nocturnal animals, which spend the day resting in burrows, rock crevices, or hollow tree trunks. The burrows often consist of no more than a simple blind-ending tunnel, but are sometimes more complex, including one or more nesting chambers lined in grass. Each individual has a number of dens, usually no more than 5, which it alternates between on different days spread throughout an 80 to 110-acre home territory. Males are larger than females, reaching around 20 to 26 inches in length and 2 to 3 pounds in weight, compared to females at 19 to 23 inches in length and 1 to 2 pounds in weight. They have a tapering snout, short legs, and erect ears, and can be distinguished by all other species of quoll by the presence of 4 toes rather than 5 on the hind feet. They have a thick coat covered in white spots and can be either light fawn or black in coloration, with off-white underparts stretching from the chin to the underside of the tail, and the breeding season occurs in early winter. After a 19 to 24 day pregnancy, the female will give birth to up to 20 young, which remain attached to the teats for around 60 to 65 days. Begin developing fur at around 51 days and open their eyes around 79 days. They are fully weaned by 150 to 165 days, and under ideal conditions, eastern quolls may reach sexual maturity around 1 year of age and live upwards of 7 years. Next up is the eastern screech owl, also known as the eastern owl. It is a species of small owl native throughout eastern North America, from Canada in the north to Mexico in the south, and from the Atlantic seaboard in the east to as far west as the Rocky Mountains. Here they inhabit dry woodlands, deciduous and boreal forests, marshes, orchards, and wooded urban areas, especially in and around streams and ponds. Eastern screech owls are strictly nocturnal, roosting during the day in cavities or on branches close to the tree's trunk, where they can use their remarkable camouflage to avoid predators such as weasels, snakes, raccoons, minks, and especially other birds such as crows, hawks, and larger species of owls. Eastern screech owls are themselves opportunistic predators, feeding on a variety of prey, including insects, crustaceans, arachnids, earthworms, mollusks, small rodents, shrews, small rabbits, bats, amphibians, reptiles, fish, and small birds, particularly chickadees, sparrows, swallows, and warblers. Eastern screech owls vary in size depending on locality, reaching 6 to 10 inches in length and 4 to 9 ounces in weight, with an 18 to 24 inch wingspan. These birds are stocky, short-tailed, and broad-winged, possessing a large, round head, prominent ear tufts, yellow eyes, and a yellowish beak. The feet are remarkably large and powerful compared to other owls, and are typically feathered down to the toes. They have a rusty or dark gray, intricately patterned plumage with streaking on the underparts, with rusty birds being more common in the southern parts of the range, while the gray birds being more common in the north. However, pairings of the two color morph variants do often occur. Breeding occurs in the spring, typically in the month of April, and like all owls, eastern screech owls don't actually build a nest. Instead, the females lay between 1 and 6 eggs directly on the bare floor of the nest hole or on the layers of fur and feathers left over from previous meals that line the bottom of the den. The mother will then incubate said eggs for a period of 28 days, and after hatching, the young are fed and cared for by both parents until fledging and heading off on their own some 31 days later. Under ideal conditions, an eastern screech owl may live upwards of 20 years. Next up is the sperm whale, also known as the cachalot, is a large species of toothed whale in the genus Physeter, of which it is the only extant member, and along with the pygmy sperm whale and the dwarf sperm whale, they make up the family Physeteriidae. And they are one of the most cosmopolitan species on Earth, with sperm whales can be found in relative abundance from the poles to the equator throughout all the world's oceans. They show a preference towards more temperate and tropical waters, particularly along continental shelves and deep ocean canyons. Sperm whales usually dive between 900 to 2,600 feet, and occasionally up to 6,600 feet in search of food in the form of sablefish, toothfish, megamouth sharks, rays, free-floating bioluminescent tunicates, cephalopods, in particular cockeye, humboldt, colossal, and giant squid, which they hunt by using echolocation, generating the most powerful sounds in the animal kingdom, which are capable of stunning prey with noise alone. While healthy adult sperm whales have no known natural predators, pilot, false killer, and especially true killer whales are all known to kill young, sick, and infirm sperm whales. Reaching upwards of 68 feet in length and 80 tons in weight, the sperm whale is the largest of the toothed whales and the largest toothed predator on Earth, with males reaching on average 30 to 50% larger than females. The sperm whale's distinctive shape comes from its very large block-shaped head, which has the largest brain on Earth, and can be 1/4 to 1/3 of the animal's length. The S-shaped blowhole is located very close to the front of the head, and is shifted on the whale's left, with the sperm whale's tail is triangular, very thick, and very flexible, being proportionally larger than that of any other cetacean. In contrast to the smooth skin on most large whales, its back skin is unusually wrinkly and has been likened to a prune by whale-watching enthusiasts. Mating occurs year-round, with bulls competing with one another for females, but while one bull will mate with multiple females, they do not form harems with adult females and their young, living in matriarchal groups called pods, while adult males will form loose bachelor groups. After a 14 to 16 month pregnancy, mothers will give birth to a single calf, which is raised by the pod for the first decade of its life. Females reach sexual maturity earlier than males at around 9 years of age compared to males at 18 years, and under ideal conditions, a sperm whale will live upwards of 70 years. Next up is the common Coquis, also known simply as the Coquis, is a species of frog belonging to the family Eleutherodactylidae, which is native to the islands of Puerto Rico, Vázquez, and Culebra, with invasive populations occurring in Colombia, Hawaii, and the Virgin Islands. Here they inhabit a wide range of habitats, including rainforest, cloud forest, dry forest, grasslands, and urban areas, up to 3,900 feet in elevation, feeding upon ants, spiders, moths, crickets, snails, slugs, other smaller amphibians, and the eggs of various species. The common Coquis is named for the loud call that adults, particularly mature males, make at night. This sound serves two purposes. The ko serves to repel rivals and establish territory, while the ki serves to attract potential mates. Female Coquis are larger than males, averaging around 36 to 52 millimeters from snout to vent, compared to males at around 30 to 37 millimeters. They are typically a molted muddy brown in coloration on top, with rust tan on the flanks and a light gray belly. As tree frogs, Coquis trade webbed feet for sticky pads on the tips of their toes, which help them adhere to moistened or slippery surfaces, and are such excellent climbers but poor swimmers. Unlike most frogs which lay their eggs in water, Coquis lay their eggs on the palm leaves, bromeliads, or other leafy plant material in their habitat, even frequently utilizing the nests of birds such as the bananaquit, the Puerto Rican bullfinch, and the Puerto Rican tody. Since the eggs are laid on land, Coquis bypass the tadpole stage, proceeding to develop limbs within the eggs rather than going through metamorphosis as larvae in the water. Thus, a fully independent froglet emerges from the egg, with a small tail that is lost shortly afterward. Breeding activity peaks in the wet season, and females usually lay between 16 and 40 eggs, 4 to 6 times each year. The eggs are guarded from the elements and predators by both parents for 17 to 26 days, and under ideal conditions, a common Coquis will reach sexual maturity around 8 months of age and live upwards of 6 years. Next up is the African manatee, also known as the West African manatee. It is a species of nocturnal manatee which inhabits the rivers, lakes, estuaries, reservoirs, lagoons, mangrove swamps, and coastal bays throughout much of western Africa, from as far north as Senegal to as far south as Angola. The African manatee is significantly more omnivorous than other species of manatees, regularly consuming clams, snails, other mollusks, and even small fish in addition to mangrove shoots, fruits, seagrasses, algae, and other aquatic vegetation. African manatees are themselves preyed upon by crocodiles and large sharks. Reaching up to 15 feet in length, 800 pounds in weight, is the second largest manatee species after the West Indian manatee. An African manatee sports a cylindrical grayish-brown body that is widest in the middle, and a large paddle-shaped tail that can propel the animal at up to 20 miles per hour. They are a very social species, living in pods of 3 to 6 close-knit members, and spend much of their time reinforcing these bonds through touch, grooming each other, and verbal communication, as well as sharing food and smell. When it is time to migrate due to changing weather, these small pods manatees will group up to travel in large herds in search of food and warmer water. Breeding occurs year-round, with females giving birth to one calf at a time after about 13-month pregnancy, once every 3 to 5 years. Males reach sexual maturity later than females at around 9 to 10 years of age, compared to females at around 3 to 4 years of age, and under ideal conditions, an African manatee live upwards of 30 years. Next up are the vulture bees, which are also known as carrion bees. They are a small group of 3 closely related stingless bee species in the genus Trigona, those being Trigona crespis, Trigona necrophaga, and Trigona hypogaea, all of which feed on rotten meat. Vulture bees are native throughout Central and South America, where they inhabit a wide range of habitats, including grasslands, cloud forests, scrublands, tropical dry forests, and tropical rainforests. Like other bee species, these eusocial insects live in colonies of up to several thousand individuals, led by a single dominant queen bee. Depending on the exact species, vulture bees range in size from 8 to 22 millimeters in length and are reddish-black or dark brown in color, with a few pale yellow hairs on the thorax. They sport hooked claws and long, strong wings. Additionally, they are stingless and therefore non-venomous, and rely on their strong mandibles for defense. Vulture bees are, as the name suggests, scavengers, feeding primarily upon decaying remains of mammals, birds, and large reptiles. The forager bees locate said cache of food primarily through smell and sight, leaving a pheromone trail for others to follow. They usually enter the carcass through the eyes, mouth, or nostrils, where they will then root around inside, gathering meat suitable for their needs. Working together, a colony of vulture bees can strip a carcass clean in a matter of hours. The vulture bee salivates on the rotting flesh and then consumes it, storing the flesh in its crop. When it returns to the hive, this meat is then regurgitated and processed by a worker bee, which then resecretes the resulting proteins as a decay-resistant edible glucose product resembling honey. These protein-rich secretions are then placed in pot-like containers within the hive until it is time to feed other bees. Secretions replace the role of pollen in the bee's diet, and the vulture bees lack adaptations for carrying pollen, and pollen stores are absent from the nests. Due to the highly processed nature of this meat honey, it's actually safe for human consumption, with the flavor being described as intense, smoky, salty, and uniquely sweet. And our extinct animal of the week, we're going back to New Zealand with Kumimanu, which is an extinct species of giant early penguin which lived throughout the South Pacific, notably on and around what is now New Zealand, some 60 to 56 million years ago. The first remains of Kumimanu, consisting of a partial skeleton, were recovered from the Paleocene Waipara green sand formation of the Otago region on the South Island of New Zealand by a team of both New Zealand and German researchers led by Gerald Mayr of the Schackenberg Research Institute and Natural History Museum. The researchers dubbed the animal Kumimanu Baisea, of which the genus name translates from the Maori as monster bird, while the specific name honors the nickname of the mother of one of the authors. Standing around 5 foot 10 inches in height and weighing in at over 200 pounds, Kumimanu is the second largest species of penguin known to have ever existed, after the colossus penguin, Palaeodiptes kolosky of Eocene Antarctica. However, unlike Palaeodiptes, Kumimanu existed for over 20 million years earlier, being the third oldest species of penguin known and amongst the first waves of rapid avian diversity arising from the wake of the KPG mass extinction event, which wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs. During the Paleocene, the waters surrounding New Zealand were warm and bursting with life in the form of fish, mollusks, crustaceans, snakes, sea turtles, and even crocodiles. Despite inhabiting this subtropical climate, Kumimanu likely sported a lifestyle not dissimilar to modern penguins, living in large colonies, resting and nesting on islands and coastal shores, before returning to the ocean to feed upon fish and invertebrates. As always, take care to my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. It's been a wonderful year, and I hope to continue.